That's not a good start. Oh. Right, I think I fixed that. Hello everyone! And everyone includes a lot more of you than there were before. I want to start this video by saying a massive thank you to everyone who subscribed to my channel. Despite my haphazard nature, I'm actually at over 1,000 subs now, which for me is really, really cool. A lot of you have come from my good mate Knowing Better's channel, so I want to say hi to you and thank him for giving me those sweet, sweet secondhand subs. If you're not subscribed to him already, then you should be, so go, please, thank you, he's very, very good. Also, a shout out if you're from the school that I've just finished working at and you found out about this channel because Miss Avery put it in the end of your newsletter. Hello, you found me. It is I, Miss Ward. Wherever you're from, you're all ace and thank you for joining me. Over the last few months, I've moved house, left my job, been a fake vicar at a wedding, no that's not my new job, performed improv comedy in Edinburgh, recorded a podcast, and now I'm preparing to move down to London town in September. But I've missed making videos for this channel so dearly, and so I am back with something for you all. And although it's not like me to start drama, I'm afraid I've got to start some drama. Oops! I just spilt my tea. Anyway, I've got this friend and they've been acting like just like such a snake recently, and I wanted to like get it out in the open. His name is Zach. I've known him for like 12 years and I've always been there for him, you know, but I feel like I've just noticed recently that actually he has been doing some really just like snaky behaviour. So I thought, you know, now I've got over 1,000 subs, I'd go full YouTuber and record my confrontation. And also partly because I feel like if I film it, then he has to own up to his behaviour, you know? But before I do that whole confrontation thing, which I will do at the end of this video, I feel like I need to process my emotions first. And other than like anger, I just feel like a bit of an idiot for ever really trusting him. So to make myself feel better and make me feel like, you know, there's reasoning behind me ever trusting him, I've looked up the science of what causes us to trust someone. Because, you know, things are easy to process if you've got a bit of reasoning behind them. I'm going to cover how our brains approach trustworthy actions versus betrayal, whether trust becomes a habit, and the chemical which has a big role in trust development. And this is what I found. Our brains recognise cooperation more than betrayal. A study in 2012 found that we learn more from when people are unexpectedly nice rather than when they unexpectedly betray us. We optimise ourselves to be more sociable to trustworthy people rather than to avoid snaky ones. It's essentially saying that we seek out positives rather than run away from negatives. We avoid negatives through only going for positive options. Now, this study did only investigate women who were interacting with other women, but if what it's found is true, then I quite like it. It's also suggested that the more we socialise, the less surprised our brain becomes by untrustworthy people, and the more we appreciate cooperative people. Which definitely makes sense to me. It's like, oh, surprise, surprise, I got stabbed in the back again by Zach or another friend because it happens all the time. Betrayal is not a shock, but if you're remotely nice to me, then I have a friendship bracelet ready for you, and it's got a dolphin on it, and I'll keep it safe on my wrist for now. Thank you so much. So we react to acts of cooperation from other people more than we do to acts of betrayal. But what about if you've trusted someone for a long time? Well, trust becomes a habit. If someone betrays you early on in a relationship, you're probably going to feel less attached to trusting them again because they've not really proven themselves to you, right? Whereas if someone betrays you later on in a relationship, you might have more conflicting feelings about what they've done because they've got a track record of being trustworthy. Depending on the level of the trust breach, I mean. Like, if something someone's done can be seen as like a misjudged slip-up, then you're probably more likely to forgive them if you've known them for longer. But if it's like a huge thing, like eating my last Kinder chocolate bar, then you're probably dead to me no matter how long we've known each other. A study from 2013 has shown that when someone betrays you, different brain areas of yours end up working depending on how long the person has previously chosen to be trustworthy for. It found that if someone deceives you early on in a relationship, when you're asked to trust them again, you spend longer thinking about it, and brain areas associated with conscious problem-solving based decision-making activate, namely your anterior cingulate cortex and your lateral frontal cortex. However, if someone deceives you after proving to be trustworthy for a while in the past, then your lateral temporal cortex is more active. This brain area relates more to making decisions out of habit rather than fresh problem analysis. Also, you're more likely to trust someone again in this second case. Now, bear in mind, this study was investigating relationships in terms of a kind of investing and gambling game, where the length of relationships related to the length of the game. Out of the 24 rounds of the game, the early deception group decided to betray you in rounds 5 and 6, whereas the late deception group waited until rounds 15 and 16 to throw you under the bus. So maybe these results can't really be extrapolated into a whole relationship scale, unless you become super attached to someone after just like a couple of hours. No, and who would do that? Stupid. Also, it's just worth pointing out that in these experiments, people often think they're playing against a real person, but they're actually just playing against a computer. And I can't help but think there's something a bit funny about an experiment that's investigating trust, and in order to investigate trust, it tricks you into thinking you're playing against a person, but you're actually playing against a computer. Like, who would have thought that the person you can trust least in this whole situation is the scientist who is investigating trust? What do they want to know about it for? Is it like an alien concept to them? Makes it all more suspicious to me. Where's my tinfoil hat? But anyway, that's some stuff on the brain areas related to trust. What about the chemicals? Well, there's one main one in particular that I'm going to talk about. Oxytocin. Oxytocin is often heralded as the love hormone, but in more scientific terms, it basically helps social bonding. And that covers social bonding in lots of respects, from between mother and child, to between sexual partners, and even it's thought between humans and dogs. And as bonding and trust go hand in hand, it's no wonder that oxytocin is also thought to have a role in trust development. In fact, Williams syndrome is a rare genetic condition where children basically are dangerously trusting. They just indiscriminately befriend strangers. And it's been found that these kids have around 3 times the normal levels of oxytocin. And because of links like this, there have been numerous studies that have investigated the role of oxytocin in trust development, using more of these gambling investment style games. By the way, if you want more detail on these gambling games that they use in the studies, and even want to try some of them at home, I don't know how you do that, the links are in the description below. One study found that when men were given a nasal spray, or spraysal if you will, of oxytocin, they continued to trust people even when they were betrayed by them 50% of the time. Their brains showed decreased activity in their amygdala and dorsal striatum. These brain areas are associated with emotional learning and learning from mistakes, so in other words, the study suggests that when people have oxytocin, they're less likely to learn from misplacing their trust in someone. And not only that, but this effect of oxytocin on the brain was only shown when the participants thought they were engaging with another person. When they knew they were engaging with a computer, there was no effect on the brain of oxytocin. And that links to oxytocin's importance in social person-to-person interactions, rather than just interactions in general. However, this study was only carried out in men, and a study 6 years later might suggest that there's a different way your body could react to oxytocin. Picture the scene. Again, a betrayal game is played. Participants are either betrayed or not betrayed. That is the question. No. Some participants then receive a spraysal of oxytocin. If the participant was betrayed, they were then told that the other person, a fake person, had been told to mull over their actions and think about what they'd done. The fake person, which the participant thought was a real person, then either gave the money they owed back, apologised, or did nothing. The participant was then asked to play the game again. In other words, they were asked if they would trust the betrayer again. Now, considering our previous results, you'd be fair to think that our people with their oxytocin spraysals might be free and hippie and like, yeah, I totally trust you again. Well, you would be wrong. Women who received an oxytocin spraysal were less likely to trust someone after they've been betrayed, even if the betrayer recognised their actions. That's less likely than a woman who didn't receive oxytocin at all. In fact, it was women who'd been previously measured as having a high level of forgiveness who were more likely, after the oxytocin spray, to distrust people who betrayed them. But this result of oxytocin increasing our suspicion levels might not be so surprising after all. Dr. Paul Hokemeyer, who has a headshot that looks like this, says that although oxytocin is released in moments of intimacy, an act of betrayal can then lead us into a state of hyper-awareness and vigilance. And when this happens, all of our responses turn to defend us against, and I quote directly here, physical and emotional annihilation. Jeez. So we can think of oxytocin as kind of guiding our more primal responses. Yes, it's released in moments of trust, but when that trust is breached, it puts us right on the defensive. And the fact that you have sort of an immediate gut reaction that's driven a little bit by oxytocin is probably why we can make more rational decisions when we've had more time to mull it over. Because then your prefrontal cortex has had time to think about it and come to a rational decision. Unless, of course, you're young and foolish, in which case, sorry, your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed yet, and it might take you a little bit longer to rationally react to the betrayal you've just faced. Maybe you'll do something stupid in the meantime, like make a hate video on YouTube. Oh, God. So, oxytocin has a key role in trust, but it may also govern our responses to betrayal. And now I'm going to end on something super interesting. Your genetics could affect how your body reacts to oxytocin. Ergo sum, your genetics might then affect how you react to betrayal. The get your own back gene. Can I just say, I've totally made up the get your own back gene name, but if any publishers or papers want to use it, ask me first, and also don't because it's a gross oversimplification. Oxytocin is a hormone. Hormones act in our body through receptors. Receptors detect the hormone, and then a cascade of reactions go on in our body, which then lead to all the effects of the hormone. But a study from 2013 has suggested that subtle differences between people's oxytocin receptors might then affect the way those people react to betrayal. You were taught at school you have a gene for blue eyes, a gene for green eyes, a gene for brown hair, blah blah blah. Although they're more complicated than that, we do have a gene in our bodies that codes for oxytocin receptors. And of course, there are subtle differences between our genes, which means there are subtle differences between our oxytocin receptors. The study investigates these things called SNPs. No, not that type of SNP. It's pronounced SNPs, and it stands for single nucleotide polymorphisms. Science acronym, and 3 words connected: SNP and single nucleotide polymorphism. You can just think of SNPs as really tiny differences between genes. The study found, amongst other things, that people with one particular type of SNP, in other words, one particular type of oxytocin receptor, were more likely to show fast retaliation after they'd been betrayed. The SNP was known as, I'm gonna have to read this bit, I've tried to learn it, CRS9840864 TRS2268494. And it was linked to people having exacerbated anger levels after they've been betrayed. Okay, so I obviously lent you that 50p last week, so like you promised, it's time to give it back. That 50p, I was just joking. It's such a small amount of money, I just assumed you wouldn't mind. I'll get you a chocolate bar or something. You what? Oh my God, you're such a CRS9840864 TRS2268494. Yes, I am. Now, a single tiny genetic alteration isn't going to completely control how you behave, so don't start using it as an excuse to beat up anyone that crosses you. You still have enough control to make different decisions. However, although you do have, control over your own decisions, it is pretty cool that a tiny little genetic difference could predispose you to acting one way or the other. Which reminds me, maybe I'm a CRS9840864 TRS2268494. Because I really felt anger after suffering from Zach's snaky behaviour. Yes, that's what the video was about. This is a reminder in case you've forgotten. This was what the video was really about. I feel like my trust in him had become a habit, but I need to open my eyes and let my oxytocin-induced hyper-awareness protect me from physical and emotional annihilation. Oh jeez, it's time to confront him. Listen, Zach, no, just let me talk. I've done my research and I get now why I trusted you for so long, but I think that's the issue, right? I think the trust became a habit, and I think that, I don't know if it's the rush of oxytocin from this most recent behaviour that you've done, but I just need to tell you that how you act needs to stop, okay? You need to at least recognise what you've been like, what you are like, and you just need to change. It needs to stop, okay? Is that all you're gonna say? Classic. Wow, okay. You're such a snake. Well, that was a huge build up to one joke. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Here's the summary like I normally do. Subscribe if you like. Subscriptions, I like my oxytocin, the social bonding part, not the suspicion part. Finally, have a lovely day, and remember to keep asking questions. Maybe I'm a CR9840464, no, CRS9840864 TRS8 top. CRS, curse. CRS9804666. I know, I'm thinking about what I think of it. You've got to be really aggressive. Really aggressive.